back to the Heart of Naomi Podcast. I'm Charm.
And I'm Mama Joyce.
And we are so excited that you are here today listening to this episode. It's a special episode because this is the final episode of our first season. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
we did it.
We did it. We actually did it.
We did it.
Thank God.
Whole season. Thank you so much. If you listen to one episode, if you listen to all the episodes, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all the Instagram comments and all the things. We really, really appreciate it. And we promise we're coming back for another season.
Yes, and 5-star ratings too. Right?
And all the 5-star ratings, reviews. We just appreciate it so much. So today we're talking about collaboration. We're talking about collaboration. And I think it's so important that we talk about collaboration. I think that maybe over the last couple of years, we've heard, this phrase, collaboration over competition. But I think we're talking about something a bit deeper than just competition, but really the power of collaboration, the power of women coming together. I think that's what we want to talk about a little bit today, right?
Yes, and I really like that topic. It's really a topic that is at the center of my heart. When we named this podcast, The Heart of Naomi, it was because of collaboration. A collaboration between Charm and myself, a collaboration between Naomi and Ruth in the scripture that we take this from. And that collaboration that I believe should be put in a system and spread all over the world. We should be collaborating as women. And we do that, but I would like to see us do it in a way that sets us up for success outside of just our small familiar groups. And I believe that's what the story of Ruth and Naomi tells us. And it shows us what can be done when women come together and when they commit themselves to one another for their overall well-being, for their futures, for them to do well, that there is a commitment made between the two that I'm going to look out for you and you're going to look out for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to use everything that I have, ability, skill, gift, to make sure that we not only survive, but we thrive. And you're going to do the same for me. And so this is a covenant relationship that we are making to one another. And we want this to spread out so that we can make covenant communities of women where we make these same types of commitments to one another. And that's one of the reasons why I love this story so well.
I think when we do, women change things.
They do.
And I think when we come together and we work together, we really can create things that are bigger than us, right? When we engage in a vision that's bigger than us. When I think about collaboration, and I was thinking about what you were saying, I was thinking, well, what goes into this collaborative relationship? And I think one of the things that goes into it is to prefer the other above yourself.
Yes.
To really consider her, to consider the sister next to you, the woman next to you, the woman behind you.
Yes.
And to come together and say, what is it that God has put on your heart? And what is it that God has put on your heart? And come together someplace in a shared vision and give yourself to that vision. Because the point of collaboration is not just for the sake of camaraderie or just being together, right? It's for the sake of producing something.
It's producing something.
Yeah.
Yes. And what we produce is beneficial to each individual. And it may be that it puts them into different directions. They go into different directions with regard to that. But even so, that vision is birthed in each of them there. And so we can explain that more when we look at Ruth and Naomi and how they moved and just how God blessed them. I think another element I would say when we talk about making these commitments and collaborating is that there's a sense of sacrifice that's involved in it. And we should consider that. There will be a sacrifice that's made. I will give of myself, and not only that which is convenient for me. Ooh. And we see that in the story. But I'm going to give what's necessary.
So what you're saying is the whole idea of only being in places that serve us is not necessarily biblical.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Not necessarily. And so I'm going to sacrifice something for your well-being. And we see that in that relationship that Jesus had for us. He was willing to sacrifice his life for our well-being so that we could thrive. Not just make it, but to thrive. And each woman wanted to see the other thrive. So that's some of what we're going to talk about today. I grew up in a sense of that kind of community, a community of women, and I want to hear how collaboration has been a part of your life as well. But I grew up as my mother had 3 sisters. And they all had a special place in my life. They never told me that they were going to mentor me or anything like that, but each one had a way of impacting me that was unique to her. And I can see it now. I couldn't see it then. And they took the time to do it. One of them, my mother's youngest sister, Patsy, would come behind us and say, if you go to school and get your high school diploma, I'll pay for your pictures, I'll pay for your ring. She did that through our family. And she stuck with us. That was very important for her. And so I did that. And she paid for my high school ring and some other things. And so I saw this woman do that. I saw another sister who was very hospitable. And so she didn't have a lot, but whenever we came to her house, she treated us royally, like we were kings and queens, and I never forgot that. And it always happened over and over. There was another sister that taught me about God. She was very powerful, and she was an evangelist. And so each one dropped things in me. The last sister, the fourth sister, was the one that, I said she had 3, but the fourth sister was the one that would bring me over her house. Out of the 6 children that were in my house, she would get me over on weekends and just allow me to be with her. I would eat what she cooked. She allowed me to drink coffee. I think that's the first place I drank coffee. And tea with raw honey in it. She was, she just gave me these types of things. Experiences that, and pulled me out to say, I see you. And I'm a big proponent of seeing women.
I was going to say, I think 2 things that came to my mind in you talking about that is, number one, these collaborative relationships, they have an element of generosity.
Yes.
Those women showed generosity. And I don't know if they had their own children or what the situation was, but if you are going to get somebody else's child, that is, you are stepping outside of yourself. Especially if you have your own children and you're going to go get somebody else's child, that's a big deal. Yes. And I'm sure that they were talking to your mom and, they shared this hope about you and what they wanted for you. And so they participated in that vision with what they had. And
that's so important. It's with what they had. They didn't have to go and get something that they didn't have. And so collaborations, we're using what we have for the benefit of the other. Takes us out of our comfort zone, right? We said it's sacrifice. What else do you see when we talk about collaboration?
I think that in the same vein, we talked about having a shared vision in the relationship. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes you got to work towards the shared vision. And I think sometimes we have to assume the best of our sister, right? And I'm thinking specifically about my grandmother and my mother. Mm-hmm. So at the time that I was born, my mother was a little rough around the edges, but I'm sure that in her heart, she wanted the best for me. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother assumed the role of like co-parent almost. Mm-hmm. And I think that collaboration, it was always a collaboration. It wasn't always the cleanest collaboration, but I think over time they worked at the relationship because they had me. They had a common thing. Mm-hmm. A common goal. They got to that shared vision. And I think the generosity ended up in a really good place, if I could say so myself. I'm not doing too bad, but I think that collaboration, it takes working at it sometimes.
Yes.
When you come from two different backgrounds, when you have two different perspectives, when you have two different ideologies, it takes working at it because the thing that you want most is worth that kind of working at. It's not always that we come together and it's like, oh yeah, I want to do that, you want to do that too. Sometimes it is like we got to work to getting there.
Yes, because again, we talk about it's bigger than us.
Yeah.
This is something that is much bigger than us. What we see also is that the working with it means there's a consistency. Mm-hmm. This does not happen overnight. We have to give and take in this relationship, where we see Ruth going out into the field gathering food and grain so that they could live physically, they could stay alive physically. We saw Naomi showing her how to navigate within a system that she did not know, within a nation that she was not a part of. Because Naomi was a Jew and Ruth was a Moabite. So we see that collaboration means we use the different skill sets, again, that we have to help promote one another and not just what we see. We give space for each other's perspective of the vision. Let me say that.
And I think, too, you don't see either of them devaluing what they each brought to the table.
That's important.
So Ruth wasn't saying to Naomi, girl, you need to be out here working with me. You just want to tell me what to do and you're not out here with me.
That's right.
Everybody was comfortable in their role. And I was thinking about what prevents us from collaboration. And I think that it's in some insecurity sometimes, some pride. Mm-hmm. I think that it is the inability to trust ourselves and other people that can prevent us from having healthy, collaborative relationships with other women, because we are constantly trying to protect ourselves from, the pain of being in a relationship with people, and
misuse,
all the stuff, all the things,
all of it, and. Another thing that I see so poignantly that sticks out about the relationship is that they were different from different generations. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't a deficit for them.
It was their greatest strength.
It was the greatest strength. And I think that's one of the greatest strengths that we're missing today, is that we have placed ourselves in groups according to age groups or generations, preferences, that we miss out on bringing all of that to the table and then utilizing that to propel us forward.
Absolutely.
They were willing to do that. They saw something. So I think we can pull from that is each generation needs to see the value in the other and to know that there is value there
Absolutely.
Time has nothing to do with whether I'm valuable or not. I'll always carry value. You will always carry value. Mm-hmm. And when we don't understand that, we will take something that's valuable and put it away and not even utilize it or know that it would even bring value to me and to what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think one of the things in terms of intergenerational collaboration or relationship that I'm grateful for is that my grandmother is still alive.
That's wonderful.
And so I get to ask random questions all the time about, how much water do you use for this? Or, just all kinds of things because she has the experience, because we have a good relationship and she's just around. Yes. And I think that it is one of my greatest joys in life is just to have that kind of partnership. Me and my grandmother, we have differing ideologies about things, but I think she is always open to hear me. Mm-hmm. We have good, healthy conversations. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first told her I got a tattoo, and she was like, and I was like, oh, Grandma, I got my first tattoo. And she said, well, what is the King of Glory going to say when he sees you?
I love it.
I said, I think he's going to love it. I think he's just going to be like, girl, I love you. And we laughed about that. But just to say, like how different we are. But one of the things I think that's important when we're talking about intergenerational collaboration is understanding that we have different perspectives and not maybe being judgmental or off-put by each other's things that we like.
And, not being ashamed. Understanding that, as we say, they have value, but they have worth. Mm-hmm. And see the beauty in each woman wherever she may be in whatever season of life that she's in.
Yeah.
See the beauty.
That's good.
That is so important that we look at things that way. We can miss something. It was another point I was going to bring about Ruth and Naomi. When Naomi put it in her mind, I must find a husband for Ruth. In the mind of us, when we're collaborating, we need to be thinking, what is it that I can do for my sister that will help things to be better for her? Mm-hmm. So Ruth entertained that. Naomi entertained it and then thought it through to the point where she gave instructions to Ruth to follow. Now, Ruth did not understand all of the ins and outs of it, or, she wasn't used to it. But we have to have faith in collaborations, to trust one another. So trust is important. I wanted to say that. And the other point I want to say is surrounding oneself with the women that you can build these communities with. Mm-hmm. So at the age I am, I have 2 women in particular that are at least 10 years older than me. They're very sharp. They are very lively. They are full of wisdom. And so I spend time with them. I set aside time on my calendar with them.
I was going to say, you make it your business.
I make it my business. And when I get with them, I usually will pay for the lunch or whatever because I see it as a way of me serving them. I don't see it as a way to bring any attention or anything. Most of the time they're saying, this time we're not doing it. I was saying, okay, it's already paid for. But that's something that I put in my mind that I'm going to do. And they always deposit in me. So that's 2 women that's at least 80. I have another one that is in her 90s. I think the other one is 92, at least 2 of them that are in their 90s. I talk to them. They call me. One texts me.
Go ahead. I know that's right.
Even when she goes into rehabilitation, she has twice. She texts me and says, Joyce, I'm at rehab over by Sinai. I said, okay, well, tell me I'm coming by. What you need? So I put the importance on these women's lives that they matter and they have something and they're praying over me. One of them said something to me I never knew she even recognized. Then I also swing to the other direction. I have younger women that are part of my circle, intentionally part of my circle. So I like to bridge these communities together or make bridges between these women because that keeps me on point. I can share some things with maybe one group or with one of them that maybe I wouldn't share with the other. And so I get a well-rounded group of women that will speak into my life, and that I also can be there for them and speak into their lives. And their families know us. Recently, one of them was 80 years old, and I went to her birthday party. And one of her daughters came up, and one of the younger ladies I took with me to the birthday party said, we want to crash these lunches that y'all have. So next time, we want to
invite us too.
Invite us too, because we want to just be, they know it. Her husband knows, my family knows. Oh, I'm getting with Lois. Oh, I'm getting with Ernestine. Oh, I'm going to be with Miss Mary. They know it. I'm making it a part of my life. So I want to be relevant enough that I'm going to attach and make relationships with all types of women.
I think relevant enough to, like you said, be with all kinds, but also wise enough to know that you shouldn't be the one that's doing all the pouring.
That's true.
Right? Because we can get this title or have this position in relationship and feel like we're the ones always doing the pouring, but
yes.
You also, you have those friends that are older than you so that you can be poured into as well.
Yes, that's important. That's an important point there.
I feel like it keeps us balanced.
It does. Mm-hmm. It does. And it makes you feel good, too. There's a level of, that's we're reciprocating there. Or, the area where I need help the most and I don't have it. And when it comes to, I think Sharmika's a wordsmith to me. She's really good with taking words and organizing them and speaking them and putting in a certain position. And so I want to go to her for that. Look, it's going to take me 10 hours to do this. Look, I've got this project, so give me some ideas about that. How can I go? I have that thing, as a matter of fact, on Tuesday. We have to get together. But anyway, just some things to help one another. And she might say, Mom, I need to blah, blah, blah. And it may be whatever time of night or day or whatever. And she knows she has my ear. And so when we can build these kind of communities, it's what we need.
Absolutely. I think it empowers us. I think it fuels us. I think it moves us forward. I actually think that relationships like this are the undercurrent to our success.
They are. I said it.
Yeah.
Without hesitation, they are.
Yeah, we need these kinds of relationships. This is the last episode of this season. So it might be a little bit before we are doing another episode. What do you want to leave with the women?
That you are in our hearts all the time. We are thinking about how we can propel you forward, how we can come together with you to make things better, how we can share our experiences, how we can share the scripture, how valued you are. You said one thing?
Go for it.
Okay. I'm Mama Joyce, so I can go. So how valued you are, how much you are needed, and how much you're loved. You are here at the right time for a purpose that God has called you to be. And we are for it and with you.
And I say to that, Selah. After that, there is nothing to be said. Just let that marinate. We love you so much. Thank you for being on this ride with us.
Thank you.
For the Heart of Naomi podcast. And as always, it's from our heart to yours.
To yours.
Have an amazing break, and we'll see you next season. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and leave us a 5-star review.
5-star rating.
We'll see you next season.
Thanks.